also, there are IO chests, regular chests, you have coolers, and then there are also 2 guaranteed supply drops, which, as we know, these supply drops guaranteed to drop a launch pad, and we've seen it. Launch pads have been so impactful on these end games, getting these teams around the map, specifically throughout those moving zones. So the fact that you can get one every single game when every other team basically just has to rely on whether they get one or not is a little bit sketchy. But so they have that edge. And then also Dr. Sloan's mythical burst assault rifle, way good. We talk about storm charge all the time. This thing does more damage than any of the other assault rifles, so you have that edge as well.
Yeah, it's a great POI to land at. So much rotation, so much power coming from that POI. Another POI I want to talk about is going to be Camp Cuddle. It's not as powerful, yet it does have everything that you need. We see Pledge and Teo are landing at Camp Cuddle, and they're able to get some loot, some weapons. They have the coolers there, and, you know, occasionally going to find a launch pad, but it's a pretty big POI they have all to themselves, which allows them to get enough ammo to get Storm Surge tags. And it's an interesting play because there's not many people on the west side of this map. So it's really just them. There's Command Cavern above them, and there's one team actually landing at this house and a split to the southern side. So it'll be interesting to see how they decide to continue to play this. They've traded tags a little bit back in day 1, but nothing significant. There was no real fights between the 2 teams. Now I want to see how these teams are going to play out. I was watching some rotations yesterday. I saw Pledge and Teo struggled in the first couple of games, but then were able to make adjustments. So let's take a look at the map here. We see Camp Cuddle is here on this left side, all the way the western side of the map. Now, let's call worst case scenario, zone poles all the way up to the opposite side of the map. Okay, how are you going to make that rotate? Well, actually, they made this rotation almost exactly the same twice. The first rotation, this yellow line, was poor. They decided to go towards the fortress and ran into way too many teams, put themselves in a bad position. Then they decided to go through tilted, land near these siege cannons, go on top of these hills, get the surge tags, and use the siege cannons to continuously push themselves and rotate through. It worked much better, and that's why if you go back and look at the match history, the first half for Pledge and Teo, it was shaky. Second half, they really clutched up, made these adjustments that were necessary, and had a great second half of the tournament. I expect to see them continue to do these same things that worked in day 1.
Yeah, you love to see some adjustments being made out of these teams mid-tournament, and also to see it actually make a positive, impact on how they are performing. So absolutely great. Now, we talked about these teams figuring a little bit about themselves and the rotations. Let's figure out a little bit about the players, Adam.
Indeed, yes. We love talking about our players and find out exactly what makes them tick. One player we have to catch up with is, of course, Jamper. Here's what happened.
What's up, everyone? Sundown here, and I am in the lobby with LG Jamper, and we're gonna hop right on into it. Jamper, how you doing today, bud?
I'm doing great.
Why don't you tell people, what was the first tournament you ever played in, won money in, and what did it feel like?
The first tournament I ever played in was the Lux Cup, or actually that's the first tournament I won money in, but I competed in some of the other tournaments, but I wasn't eligible because I was under 16, so that kind of held me back, and I still loved the game, so I kept playing even though I wasn't allowed to compete. And then when they announced World Cup, it was age 13 to compete. That's when I was like, I'm gonna get serious, I'm gonna focus it, and I actually made money in the Lux Cup, which is actually pretty early on. It's the first tournament.
At what moment were you like, wow, I can kind of keep really doing this Fortnite thing?
Because I was doing average, you could say, in a pro terms, average in the tournaments and everything, but that was while I was playing soccer and school and everything. So I knew if I had more time to focus on what I was doing that I would be successful. So I guess I kind of always knew, but when LG messaged me, that's when I knew.
So once you were able to focus on Fortnite, what kind of gave you that biggest lift? Was it being able to practice all the time? Was it really being able to dedicate the tournament? Do you do a bunch of VOD reviewing?
Definitely VOD reviewing. That's the most important thing, because a lot of people, they have an ego about themselves and won't admit their mistakes, but if you take away your ego and actually look at what you're doing wrong, that's what really pushes you above everyone else.
I feel like in your particular duo, that's made sense because you're paired up with Dukes right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you feel playing with him has been, and what are you excited for this upcoming season?
Playing with Dukes is actually really fun because it's one thing to play with your teammate just for tournaments, but I actually hanging out with them and talking to them, so it's really nice. And the last finals we played, the grand finals, Chapter 3, Season 1, he actually solo clutched like a lot of points, and he had a really good performance, so I'm really confident with him.
Yeah, and how is that, knowing that at any point in time, not only are you enjoying playing with your teammate, but you both really have that capability of kind of popping off and having that big game? Like, what are the vibes like in the call when that goes on?
It's great, because like if I do it, he makes me feel like I'm the best player, and if he does it, then I'm just like, oh my God, Dukes, you're the best player. Thanks for carrying me. Where
can people find you? Where can they watch you, catch up on the social media, catch up on your streams? What are your tags?
Jamper FN on Twitter. That's like my main platform that I use to like communicate what I'm doing. And I stream a lot on Twitch, twitch.tv/Jamper.
All right, sweet. Thank you so much, Jamper. And that's been In the Lobby.
All right, great to hear there from Jamper. What a star. Now, we are moments away. The clock is ticking here.
Close.
We are almost at the next game here. Game 7. Let's get the casters out, shall we?
Bring them out.
Let's bring them out here. Monster D-Face, Sundown, come on out here, boys.
Game
Let's
time.
go.
Game
Yes,
time.
let's go.
Day 2 vibes, day 2
Good to see
vibes.
you guys,
Here
good
we
to
go.
see you. It is so much hype here right now because we know 6 games left. We're going to jump straight into predictions. Let's have a look and see exactly what's up right now. This is who we thought might go all the way here. DJ Nyomzo, not a great day yesterday. I'm expecting big things today. A lot. They need to come out, guns blazing, aggressive. I need victory royales. I've asked Sundown now, who's your pick? And we just saw him on the VT there as well.
I was just about to say, you saw the interview with him, Jamper and Duke. I thought they'd be playing a lot of high ground. I haven't seen it yet, but still a couple of good games yesterday, and anything can happen on day 2.
Okay, MDF, walk us through yours quickly.
Kanata and Agers, I love what they're doing. Again, today's day 2, though, right? Hit that drawing board, come back, make a new strategy. That's what's important today.
Interesting. Viv?
Bugamira, they're in 3rd place right now. Reigning FNCS champs. Nothing more to say.
And SPG?
I'm in the same boat as you. Need the victory royales, need a big comeback today.
We absolutely need that as well. Of course, as always, do let us know who you think is going to go all the way here. Who is going to be FNCS champions? Let us know in the chat here. We're going into Game 7. There are 6 games left to play. Oh, who's going to get the Axid champions? Let's head over to Sundown and to Monster. Bring us all the action. It's Game 7. Let's dive in from the Battle Bus.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for setting the stage. We have seen 4 other regions crown their champions, and we'll have 2 more joining them right after this.
Absolutely. Picking up where we left off yesterday, it's going to be Game 7. This is a 2-day tournament, of course. Finals, everything on the line now. What's cool to see is that 3rd place in down battle. I really want to call this almost like, let's usher in the new era. There are so many newer teams popping up here, and it's going to be great.
I mean, you're focusing on that. I'm focusing on the fact that it's time. Game 7 right now. Let's get it. And we saw yesterday, we got a little bit of a 2-horse race right at the top. Peterbot and Byla phase Walltaker and 33 Cold. And yes, I know we're going to call him Walltaker. Yes, we know it's scented, but the name you put up there is the name we're going to call out. Please keep your branding consistent. And one thing I want to note, I went back yesterday and I checked because I know I talked about it. And I was like, man, I feel like I've seen these numbers before. When we're looking at Peterbot and Byla, the numbers they put up yesterday were almost exactly the same as what they did in Qualifier 1. It's a difference of like 5 eliminations in 1 on the average placement.
Definitely one of the teams that flew under our radar, right? They played so consistent. They played well in the first qualifier. And, you know, we tend to overlook things. Sometimes the name means everything. This time around, they are proving that we need to keep an eye on them. We need to give them attention. They have definitely earned it here today on the main stage. Of course, Peterbot and Byla have taken full advantage of the Fortnite world. Let's just talk about players that are so flexible like this. I think it honestly just gives them even more of a reason to check them out. The fact that they can be so nimble, so flexible, and play the newest drop and find success.
And particularly now, they're able to really just be a little bit defensive on their lead. They know they don't have to be pushing for all of those eliminations that got them there because, hey, they got them yesterday. They're able to now just kind of look at the rest of the lobby. So we're going to take a look. Trashy and Glaze, they're trying to find a little bit of room over here. And one of our little contested side drops focusing over on the gas station. Right now, HP lead very, very much so in the hands of Golden and his teammate.
Yeah, not looking too hot for Glace right now, who's got about half that health pool to work with, but Trashy's just trying to find any kind of material count that he can here. He's got 100 brick. That's going to give him about 11 builds or so to work with. Not too bad considering he has this natural high ground, but that HP disadvantage, that lack of a long range and a closer follow-up range weapon is going to be pretty tough to engage and find a lead here. So this is going to come down to whether or not they can actually bait them into bringing the battle to Trashy. Otherwise, they should get out of here. Remember, each of these engagements are still going to be worth so much.
Right, you can see Trashy trying to get the cone. Will get the replace over the top, and then immediately, nice little edit back, but Fable Taco trying to back him down, and now the HP lead is a little bit even. If you're Trashy, you want to close this fight immediately.
And that's how you play right there. You pre-fire the shot. This is one thing that pros are exceptional at, setting up those pre-fires. You cannot overestimate a player like Trashy. He will definitely punish you for any mistake. Fable Taco and Golden, a part of that new era that we were talking about. Here it is. Time to step up to the plate.
But just 2 builds on Fable Taco, which means if you end up in a situation where that drone's able to get on top of you, you don't necessarily have a wall to be able to slam up, which is one of the best things to kind of back down those high rate of fire weapons. And it feels like Trashy kind of knows that he should hear them hitting those materials on the inside. He's trying to push it down, and immediately Fable Taco trying to find an answer, and he does. Glaze taking a bunch of damage. He's going to go down. It's all going to be on Trashy.
Not looking good for Trashy now. He didn't even get a chance to reload his weapon, so this is it. It's pretty much all or nothing, and he looks like he wants to commit here and now. Keep in mind, he does have to hit every single shot, possibly with max damage as well if he wants to take out 2 players here, especially with the limited ammunition that he has. Giving Golden and Fable Taco a chance to rebound back, go ahead and get their HP up is going to be devastating for him now. Here it is. He gets the 1v1 he's looking for, but it's still in the advantage so far of Fable Taco.
He only has 3 bullets left. Like we've seen him, he hasn't picked up any additional ammunition. You see him desperately trying to put it down, and he's going to go down. First full duo eliminated on that end, and I anticipate one. If you're just joining us today, we'll be setting the stage after all these initial fights, as we have Shoni and Polo, no strangers to fighting early, going right up against Crumbler and Mars. Mars goes down immediately.
Here's the thing. These are the best players in NA East going head-to-head, regardless of where they are coming into day 2. These battles, these engagements are worth thousands of dollars. Literally, your placement points will matter. And let's be honest, who doesn't want to have a great history from your most recent competitive tournament, right? These are what the players wear proudly on their shoulders. So far, Shoni and Polo have done pretty decent. They have a chance to actually battle today, do well, and make it to top 10.
And they're one of the duos who haven't been competing here in the finals before. This is their first opportunity, and we have seen them get better each and every qualifier. And again, we talked about the stakes. We talked about the 130K for first place as Narwhal actually ends up picking up Golden. So that first fight just delaying them enough to end up allowing another team to come in. Shoni and Polo are trying to go down. But, hey, man, you saw the announcement this morning, right? Like, there's a little bit more on the line. We will have that invitational in-person event in November. And yes, that invitational word tends to scare people, and look at all that. But if you go through, you read the blog, we're going to be inviting top duos based on their performances in the FNCS. So, hey, you want to show up? You want to end up in Raleigh? Put your name on the stage right now.
You say small, I'm saying that's a large announcement, a huge one, in fact. I'm looking so forward to what's to come. I'm sure the players are as well. The overall community sentiment's been amazing. And take a look here, talking about amazing things going down. Narwhal and Nexi on fire right now. Kick things off with 2 eliminations here. And again, they came in late. They kind of sweep up the dust right underneath the rug. And that's going to be a great kickoff for them. 6-point swing means a lot. You saw the standings. Our top 15 were quite literally 3 points from one another. Do not let that little number on the side of where the team is coming in discourage you from counting these squads out. So many of them have a true opportunity to jump into top 10. It is not even a drill. For Booga and Miro, though, there's a huge order in front of them. They have to stay consistent. They are one of the duos that are right in that sardine pack with all the other players.
Oh, man, I hate sardines. Just not a massive fan in that regard, but I am a massive fan of the way Booga and Miro have been playing. It's very easy to get discouraged when you look at the top of the table and the fact that Cold and Walltaker and Peterbot and Bila have been playing so well. These guys aren't slowing down at all. They've been able to put up the pressure. They've been able to contest against Surge. They've gotten reboots when needed. Now we're going to swing on over to the opposite side. Polarized and Nico, they're trying to get on the board here. Creo and Vert on the opposite side, and honestly, I love the attitude coming out from Polarized and Nico here, because they talked about everyone was just like, man, really tough day 1, failing to score a point. But he said, hey, I would rather go 0 for 30 than 0 for 9, because going 0 for 9 means I stop shooting. And these guys, they're still going. They're still pressing. They want to be a part of that conversation.
You love it, and you love to see players continue to try their best, play their hearts out, and do their best tournament after tournament. Of course, it's not over until it is absolutely over. And there's a lot of teams that have yet to earn some placement points or just general points here in the tournament this weekend. So it does kind of give a little bit of a heads up to the rest of the community looking at this tournament here. It's been difficult, and our best teams are shining. They're actually taking away so many points up at the top, and that's why it's actually highly competitive there. Talking about highly competitive teams, though, Walltaker, Cold, these guys are in the running on the heels of Peterbot and Byla. Essentially, Peterbot and Byla would have to fall in order for others to go ahead and do this, but we have a word from one of the best our scene has to offer. It's Vivid.
Hey guys, so let's tune in right here with Peterbot and Byla. Now again, they do have that Dr. Sloan's assault rifle right off the spawn. He's actually holding that combat SMG as well, so no shotgun, so don't expect too many close range fights to go down. But interesting, we have a new fighter at the Collider. Bizzle and Diego Plays actually landing there, and I do believe they might have snuck away one of the supply drops, so I'm not sure if Peterbot and Byla actually got one of those launch pads this game, and with this south zone, we'll have to see how it impacts them.
Doesn't look like it as we swap through their inventory. No launch pad there, but we also did see Sonetto get a knock very early on onto Diego, so we'll see how that ends up going. And a nice little info in the top right-hand corner. The last two NAE finals have been won by the team who is in first after day one. So if statistics are on your side, they're in a pretty good spot.
But was that day one team introduced to a new hurdle? A team landing at their drop spot, a team stealing away what could be the most vital piece of loot, which is that extra launch pad. Take a look here. So now, can you explain this?
No, I was just about to say, what is going on here? As you see, it looks like they're trying to separate and make sure they have all of their shields in one spot, but they have so many. And I love the fact that they're actually taking the time to use that kind of right-click or aim down sights and then throw the utility itself, because Oliver OG was looking to kind of steal some of that away. As we're going to swing on over. 33 Cold, FaZe, Walltaker, trying to continue putting the pressure onto the rest of the lobby. They got a little bit of catch-up to be doing if they want to walk away with that Axe of Champions 2.0.
Eliminations. That's the name of the game for them right now. If they want to catch up to Peterbot and Byla, they need to find a slew of eliminations, but also Peterbot and Byla will probably have to go down to even allow that opportunity to be a reality here. For Commandment and Stretch, a team that's put up a couple digits here, I mean, they're looking for a comeback date today. You saw Stretch's response there on social media. He's like, dude, that big announcement, it's time for me to focus up. I got to get my head in the game. And now he has something even bigger to play for.
Yeah, you got to buckle down because, again, the return to in-person events, hey, we got to get something going, right? It's our first step, getting that ball rolling, kind of touching our toes in the water to see what it looks like in modernity. But as I said all the way back in the day, competitive Fortnite isn't going anywhere, and neither is Peterbot and Byla as they keep their train on moving, picking up a key elimination there.
Early elims for Peterbot and Byla will spell disaster and scare for the rest of the lobby. And look at this, they're actually pushing on in. Now that was just a knock. The pickup does come through. Yep. Notice the punishment though for the push here. Byla and Peterbot looking a little worse for wears.
And this is the exact situation that Vivid just talked about, how, hey, I don't really see either of them rocking a shotgun. Yeah, wall-to-wall fights with an SMG are fine when you have an HP advantage, and they kind of do now thanks to the shield cake. But on the other side of them, they have another very aggressive duo who's trying to hawk in. You can see it in the bottom right-hand corner. Those green triangles, they're closing on this fight.
They're sliding in, but Peterbot and Byla don't like the sound of it. They start to back on up. They skate out the side here. Off to the races they go. They're looking to disengage. Small victory for them. Some couple tags there for Clicks and Day, though. Pressure on the horizon here. They have threats. Once again, we've seen this rotate game after game. The slide on into Chunker Speedway. Last time, it was Blake and Lawrence's tournament. They basically threw. This time now, a bigger problem. Threats and Rise seem to have the advantage here.
But I do like the conscious disengagement, something we see out of Clicks and Day a lot, where they're not necessarily afraid to take some of the damage. We will see 323 below. We'll take a second to see if it updates. So the 323 lets you know the team has done the absolute least amount of damage. That's how far up they need to go. And then it will update, and we'll see the duo who are on, which is Clicks and Day. Now, if you are new to competitive Fortnite in this regard, Storm Surge is something that is active in every game, but you generally only see it in these high-stakes competitive lobbies. It turns on in zones 3, 5, and 7, and then it will do 25 damage every 5 seconds to the duos who are underneath the threshold, like Booga and Miro. Now, how do you bump that threshold out? you shoot other people. You get confirmed damage tags. So now you should see on the right-hand side, once that update comes through, the 2 shots that Booga hit pushes them just barely above. So teams will be ping-ponging back and forth.
And trust us when we say this is where the pressure really kicks in. This is where diamonds are created, guys. You absolutely have to hit every single opportunity that presents itself. These players will not open up those boxes freely, so you really have to take advantage. Talk about that, though. Here comes a full dive in, and this is going to be a full-on engagement. We have the number 1 team down to the right. Gold and Aviv have to fight. They are in fourth place here. This is an all-in potential battle if they do not find tags.
But who are they going to push? They're either pushing 5th place with Joji and Rokane, who probably want to fight you as well, or you have Peterbot and Byla directly underneath them. It looked like they almost wanted to geyser over towards the supply drop, and they realized somebody else was there in full metal.
And also, Gold and Aviv are now split from one another. This is terrible for them. Aviv focusing in on our number 1 team of Peterbot and Byla down low. Meanwhile, Gold has to transition on over, but also 20 players will have to go down in the feed. Walltaker takes out Teo, so these are big engagements here, but it is going to get very interesting now. Here it is, 4th on 5th.
Will they be able to take it? Just 38 damage above, 3 seconds till that Storm Surge turns on, and then the onus could really be put onto them. You can see right-hand side of the screen, Joji and Rokane, they're a 5th place team. They are underneath, and he's actually I love this. He's hanging back in the zone, knowing he's going to get a better angle on some of the teams who are posted up right towards the outside, and just that little second, the little awareness puts them decently above Surge.
Definitely some great tags there. Headshots come through. The feed is lighting up, though. Cold finds another one, so these exchanges are happening everywhere. Meanwhile, Peterbot and Byla find themselves another little 2-piece here onto Mega. He picks one up for the trouble. Scarefair goes down. Walkers is down as well. Our 7th place team now down and out. That is so unfortunate for the new era boys trying to step on up, but they will continue to have opportunity here today. Let's hop on over to Blake and Lawrence, who are also below the surge.
Oh, that was so close. Lawrence actually missed the first chug splash there, and Blake almost ended up going down. You can see him trying to split the minis over, but every second you're taking a shield is a second you are not shooting someone, and the minis will only offset 5 seconds worth of the surge. Remember, it's 25 damage every 5 seconds, 61 below. He needs to find a double tag pretty much now or he's going to go down, and they just barely find it. Now take a look at the top left-hand corner. 3 players need to go down, and then the surge will turn off, and Clarity G gets taken down.
What's crazy is that there's also a heal behind them, but they don't have the time to actually, the luxury to sit down and heal here. They are deciding to take fights instead. It is going to be the difference maker. Take a look at the focus, the laser focus on Blake's face there. He is absolutely just worried about finding these tags, and he will find them. The surge will go ahead and simmer down now, as we've already broken the threshold, but at what cost?
I mean, you talk about at what cost in the top left-hand corner. We saw it, 4 versus 5. Well, 4 came out ahead. Joji and Rokane are down. Great use of the harpoon there to grab it, but we're going to take a quick look in at our top team and just showing why they are running the table. Great angles on the side, taking advantage of the fact that Dubs and Mega were pinched there, and then they push in to make sure they scoop up all of that additional loot. That's why we call it a refresh, because you are able to then take the advantage of whatever additional utility is there. We'll swing on over right now with Walltaker and Cold, who we talked about. The name of the game is eliminations. Well, so far, the difference is being made up by Peterbot and Byla. They're extending that lead right now, and you can see a little bit of onus going on to Walltaker and Cold.
This reminds me of the Zayt and Sat philosophy. If you do not have a loadout to win the game, make it happen. Make the big plays, and you can see that they do not have heals. They don't really have an endgame loadout, and they are playing for what could be a game-changer situation here. And this is why they single out Bank, who looks to be a solo. I think they've gathered enough information on that, and they're trying to change the tide of this game. Halfway through material, no HP to really work with here as far as additional extended heals go, and I love this push right here. It's aggressive, but it's a tournament-winning decision.
And that's what you need to do, because again, they're pretty handily in second place, but their eyes are on Peterbot and Byla and what they have to do. We have 4th zone revealed. You can see it relatively central to where the players are at now. We do have a river cutting right down the middle, but you can see trying to get in, trying to get underneath Bank, taking a bunch of damage, and they're going to be able to pick that up, but you have to make sure you're covered on the side. As we've talked about so many times, they will get a much-needed refresh, but as I say that, it's only some minis, so not going to be able to top Cold off to that maximum 200 HP.
We heard some minis fall there. We saw a little upgrade to the weapons, so there is something to be gained, and of course those extra points if they want to start catching up to our #1 team. Let's take a look at Jamper and Duke are 7th place, currently positioned duo here up on high ground. They have plenty of visuals to work with here, a lot of information to be downloaded and assessed here. But the zone tells us a story in its own. They're gonna have to rotate way on out, and you can see there's trouble in paradise. There's not a lot of duos already set up, so there's going to be plenty of duos that have to make this rotate.
But most of the duos are on the northeastern part of the zone, so if you are on the western part, you're pretty safe. You can effectively just walk in, which is where Duke and Jamper were, and Booga throwing some shots, and he's hitting them. That was back-to-back headshots going through. Jamper's actually going to end up finding an Elim in the feet, and I believe he just got a knock onto Walltaker. Yeah, that was him. He's out. So now Cold going to be by himself. This is monstrously huge.
And remember, look at this. They're fighting for loot. He actually jumped on top of another refreshed body. So mega unfortunate for Cold here. Had Senthit just been able to stay up here, it would have been a difference maker. They would have had enough to work with.
And again, we're talking about, you can see in the top right-hand corner, NA East has been the region with the least amount of reboots. And in fact, we're just able to break the record of nobody having won a game after reboot. That was the final game yesterday, where all of a sudden we were like, hey, this isn't really a one-horse race anymore, right? Like, Walltaker and Cold had the opportunity to get in. But right now, we're taking a look at third-place team, ripped to shred.
Oh, no.
Fantastic job picking up Elims, but falling just outside of that placement threshold at top 25 is huge.
And it's Acorn who picks it up. That's somebody's guns pick there, who, again, we have this little internal fun thing going on with our pick, so we'll continue to keep that story developing here as well. Take a look now. We have an important fight here. Our second place team of Cold under pressure. He's got a duel on this wall. He cannot afford to go down now if they want to stay competitive, if they want to stay in the running. Meanwhile, Peterbot also gets knocked. This is an opportunity for someone like Cold to take advantage, but it's only a knock. It's not a full finish.
We'll see if that ends up getting confirmed. We talked about how everyone was piled into the northeast side while Zone pulled all the way to the southwest. So everyone is going to have to go find that. And right now, as we said, it was just a knock. They're going to be able to get Peterbot back up on his feet. And if you take a look at the top left-hand corner, top 25. So 1 point granted out to everyone who made it this far. And then we're into the cascading placement point. So as duos drop, it'll be an additional +1. And Peterbot and Byla have only had one game where they've even relatively stalled over the course of the entire FNCS. Well, 2 games over the course of the entire FNCS.
Did you imagine the odds of falling this late in the tournament and getting saved? It has to be incredibly slim. So the chances, the odds, the favor is in Peterbot's side this time around. On the other side, Teo and Pledge now have an opportunity to jump on up as Aviv and Gold. Their third place competitors are down, so this is an opportunity for them. Very bold play here to stick inside the zone and try to play for this late pad. It's going to cost them a little bit, a little extra HP, but hey, they get to use it. They get to recycle the community launch pad, and off they go. Teo falls, though, in the process, and that's a man down here. Pledge will have to play this one out by himself.
And it was Cold who ended up actually getting the knock as a solo, so that is monstrous for him, trying to make up the difference, because again, we talked about the Elims coming through, but we already saw Peterbot and Byla have picked up a pair. Cold and Walltaker have just now equalized on that. So if we're talking about the difference there at the top, they're even, but it's all going to be on Cold as a solo to try and make up that gap. Because on the right-hand side, Peterbot and Byla are doing what they do best. They're trying to get to the front side of the zone, get priority, and then be able to scoop up and cut off all of these other teams. And Byla picks up another one for himself. That's their third elimination.
And what a great refresh as well. They are sitting on so much loot here. Now, granted, they will have to pause and heal for a second, and unfortunately, there's not too many extra quick heals here, but they have the time. They also pull somewhat of a zone favor. It's going to go hard east here, past the Synapse station. Things are going to start getting very interesting. Notice how quickly this lobby has been cut down. That is because of the difficulty of the terrain forcing players what was a longer rotate than usual.
It's also way different from the pace we saw yesterday at the start of the game, right? There's no shot. Like, we're not even going to come close to that 7th zone search. 5 players need to go down. This is a pretty difficult rotation. You can tell players know that, like, hey, we have to pick up the pace a little bit. Even if you're in that 3rd through 50th range, you know there is money to be made if you can be successful. And right now, Duke and Jamper, it looks like they're going for the early high ground. Cold is looking for a little bit of room, a little bit of space to do just something, but with only 9 bills, the Medmis and the 2 minis, he's gonna have to dig in deep. The wood, not gonna be enough. A monstrous shot, but Avery takes advantage of it, and him and Muzz have really been pushing up and challenging and playing very well as a duo.
Meanwhile, Kanat and Agers now find themselves in 7th place in the front side of low ground zone. I love that position on high ground. No one has truly claimed it, but there is Degen and Iamzo eyeing it up, thinking about it, and now they go on up. Miro and Bugha think about going for it, but it's not going to be a good idea as Miro almost loses his tournament run there for a second. Things have to slow down now. He is well above the surge. It's not going to be an issue at all for this lobby as players are falling. Byla is down, but not before picking up 3 more elims.
I was just about to say he's down, but he picked up a pair on the backside of the zone, and not even a pair. He finds the spare there as he gets threats and rides +1. So continuing the absurd run, 6 eliminations from them, but Peterbot is going to have to do something ridiculous as a solo. No stranger to him as he finds it. What a shot, Peterbot!
A huge shot there now. He's swinging on around. He's got plenty of maps to play with as well. And you are seeing why Peterbot and Byla are making statement plays round after round. Here it is, though. There is still more to earn here with every team that goes down, more placement points. But elims are better. Get those instead. That's worth 3 if he gets the full confirm. Another down body here. He could play for that, but no. Smarter than that. Playing for second height. This is an end game push right now.
Bugha taken down by Smacked as well, and if we're looking over, we've already seen 2nd, 4th, 5th, 6th coming into this game has dropped. If you're Peterbot and Byla, there's tons of daylight, but up top, Iamzo and Degen trying to rip it away. Iamzo will get one, but Degen gets knocked.
And that's a solo now on high ground. That is so scary. That means this win is not completely free. He is trying to break it down. He doesn't trust if there's anyone up above, then there is a player there. It's Larson. Iamzo now, with a very bold play, has to slide on out. He's very hurt, though. Peterbot, meanwhile, on the side here, clutching up as ever, just trying to hold on to the game. Down goes Degen. Down goes Jamper. We're inside the top 10.
And this is what Peterbot does so absurdly well, is he finds the angle, he cuts off the player, and then he about faces and puts pressure on him. But right now the pressure's on Miro, trying to throw a ramp up in his face. Fishing cast on the other side. Great level change, but unfortunately Chimp from the top down was able to pick it up. Peterbot and Byla are up onto 9 eliminations, all in the solo plays. Byla dipping back in the zone and finding 3. Peterbot then, since the solo, has found 3 of himself. And look, he's challenging players. He's going forward. Ager's ripped apart. He is going, and there's a reason he's in first. Look at the moves.
And look at this, a big 180 as well before he gets sent out of the lobby. Talk about big plays and bigger clutches there in the end. And now it's players on the bubble here trying to fight their way up to top 10. Remember, all of these engagements will be worth thousands of dollars and leaderboard implications as we continue throughout the day. Quan, Tabs, G finally make their way to an end game here. What can they do? It's a clean 2v2v1 though. A player goes down, and here it is. It should be a nice closeout here. It's Larson who's on the run. Qua and Tabs G come on through, and they secure themselves a nice victory royale.
What a way to start off day number 2. And I mean, it feels like it's the sequel to the book we were reading yesterday. We see Peterbot and Byla dominating the individual efforts, the plays, the movement coming through, but then the team on height runs it out and secures the victory royale. But all the points are being filtered in because, as we see, the teams who are in 2nd through 10th just get taken out before they can really put a statement on the board.
And this is what I love about 2-day formats here with the finals. You get to see other teams really shine through. What did we do wrong yesterday? How can we make adjustments? And let's show up on day 2. Let's make a statement. There were so many new teams now finding their groove.
And again, we've talked about the 2-horse race at the top and then everything else underneath that's going to be shifting constantly. And to keep track of that, we got Adam, Vivid, and SPG.
Yes, thank you so much for this. Qua and Tabs G with the first victory royale of the day here, Game 7. But whoa for a second. Okay, now we saw that stat earlier on that 2 teams have retained being in the top spot from day 1 into day 2, winning FNCS. Peterbot and Byla come out with 10 eliminations. We saw Peterbot get a knock earlier on though, Vivid, and manages somehow to still get some serious points.
The most incredible thing about this, honestly, is that we were accrediting a lot of their success to that guaranteed launch pad that they were getting off spawn. But no, this game we saw that Bizzle and Diego kind of took that pad from them, but they were like, no, listen, we're better than that. They went aggressive in the mid game. They picked up 2 early eliminations, and from that, they found that launch pad. But it didn't just stop there, right? Violet goes down a little bit early. Of course, he has 4 eliminations somehow, and then Peterbot just goes on to pick up 6 himself as a solo. I mean, these guys are just playing out of their minds. Can anybody stop them?
I don't know that it'll be possible. Coming in day 2, doing this right off the bat, just showing us how good they are. I mean, we talked about it last season with Bugha and Miro, all the solo clutches getting just a few more points every game. That seems to be the story here for Peterbot and Byla. and it's been absolutely incredible to watch. It's a coming out party for these two, and I mean, if this happens again, I don't know that anyone can even catch them.
Yeah, there's a bit of a victory lap vibe right now, just saying, hey, we're here. It's ours for the taking. So we'll just, hi guys, as they walk past and just eliminate kind of everyone on the field there. But other teams, we saw Cold going down early on as well. We saw the Mira and Booger as well, managing to get good positioning from them, being one of the South Storms, one of the few South Storms we've had across this competition. But let's look at the leaderboard right now. 282 points, Vivid.
What are they doing all the way up there?
83 points in the lead. This is madness.
I don't even know what to say anymore. I mean, 159 placement points. Listen, they have more placement points than fourth place has in total points. Like, how are you playing that consistently? 41 eliminations. Unbelievable. The closest to them is actually 30 in Walltaker and Cold, and then the next to that is 23. Like, they are so far ahead.
They are so far ahead, and now we just take a look at the rest of the leaderboard at this point to see where it's at. There was so many shifts in that 5th to 18th place. Like I noted at the top of the show, it is like one Victory Royale worth of placement points that separated 3rd all the way down to 18th. Now, we see that showing up once again right here. A lot of these teams are so close, and maybe you're not going to win FNCS, but a team like Scare Bear and Walkers, a team like Spade and Chimp last season, if you're coming to FNCS finals, you're showing up, you're making a statement, that is your mark, that is beginning your legacy, and it's really important these teams take advantage of this opportunity and just show up and show everyone just how good you are.
Love that. Absolutely spot on. I mean, Vivid as well. You can see here as well, particularly positions 11, 12, and 13 were right on the cusp there, breaking into the top 10. But, we were saying about, we need a lot of teams to perform today. We talked about predictions early on as well. I was watching out for the guys that I've chosen, DJ and Yomza there. 11 places they shoot up there. We said they had to go for high ground. That did happen, trying to maintain that. Larson pressed them. It didn't happen. Obviously, DJ going early, but Yomza managed to get some points there. But as we can see here, there's a real big gap now, SBG. Placement points versus eliminations, 41 for Peterbot and Byler. That is a bit, 3 points per elimination. That is a big game changer right now.
Every game, it seems like they're just racking them up. They had no business getting as many elims as they did last game. I mean, Vivid, how does that even happen? They're just slaying out.
I have no idea. 10 eliminations, game number 1. I mean, it is absolutely crazy. But at the end of all this chaos, we saw Tabji and Quad pick up the Victory Royale, right? And this is amazing. They are not done yet. We saw in EU, actually, Hen and Queasy, I believe they came into day number 2. They were in like 41st place. Yeah. And then at the end of this, they ended in the top 10. So a great performance out of Kwa and Tabji, who, as you can see right here, in this specific highlight, they are in 31st. But surely this Victory Royale bumped up a lot more than that. And if they keep playing like this, we could see one of those comebacks like we saw over in EU.
Big risers, and that's what you want to do. I mean, you can't control what happened yesterday. All you can do is show up today and perform your best. For Tabji and Kwa, coming in out of semifinals, qualifying, they had a great semifinals performance, and now showing up once again. We see those 2nd through 4th place, no movement yet. They have to stay consistent. They have to continue to push Vila and Peterbot to try and grab that top spot. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's sure going to be fun to watch.
It certainly is indeed. And we've seen as well some big points in other regions as well. Peterbot and Byler going, they're all guns blazing, doing very well. But it's quite big, isn't it, Vivid, as well? A new POI. The Collider is not one that, has not been around for long. We've seen many teams try and position themselves there, not necessarily faring well, but they seem to be doing an amazing job. How difficult is that as a player to get a new POI and do this well a job?
Well, the great thing about the Collider is that it was actually put right smack dab in the middle of the map, right? So you are actually pretty much guaranteed to be in the zone in some sort of way, so they can kind of just base up there and get a lot of their early tags there. But then also when they're making rotations out of there, they are so smart because they know what their POI has to offer. That air vent, they always look back at their POI when they rotate out because they're like, we know players are going to rotate out of there, and that's how we're going to go to surge. And that right there in this game number 7 is where we saw them get a lot of their tags from.
Yeah, quick adjustments, learning on the fly. Hey, these guys deserve it. They've been playing so well, and hey, we can keep giving them praise all day, but I think we got something coming up next, Adam.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, Command Cavern as well. We already noticed a POI that gets good numbers as well. Good teams elevating themselves to the top, and we've got 3 teams there right now in the top of the leaderboard as well, which is looking very, very exciting indeed. But it is time for game number 8. No waiting around. The battle bus is fueled. It's ready to roll. Let's jump in and let's find out what happens next.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. We've seen 7 games played, and so far, the question is, who on Earth or in NA East is going to stop Peter, Bot, and Byla? Because right now, they're a runaway train just picking up momentum.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we still have a bit of a race between, third and those other players trying to play catch up, but up in the #1 spot, it is definitely looking like the crown is going to them. And let's be honest, a huge performance day 1, a better performance already to start off day 2. Outperforming the closest competitors is the way you want to do it here. And there's anyone that deserves it, it is basically players that play like that.
Yeah, and the thing is, their individual performances are fantastic, but they're getting help because all the other top teams are going down early. They're not as consistent and not capitalizing. And here we go. Game number 8. Will the tale change? Will we see a new protagonist rise up and be able to take the story out of their control? Will somebody enter their villain era and say, we can handle this, we'll do it ourselves? But so far, the answer is a big fat no. They're looking fantastic.
If you want to win this tournament, if you want the #1 spot, I'm afraid the only way to do it, someone has to contest them. You have to clash against them. And as we all know, you don't really want to do that because there's a reason they're playing well. There's a reason they're up there finding success. It's not just the drop spot. It's what they're doing in endgame. It's the clutches. It's the rotates. It's piecing it all together.
And right now, just the entire Clown Fiesta that has been going on North Sleepy has been such an interesting thing because it feels like almost every single game we have somebody going down before anybody really even properly touches their feet. We saw it yesterday when Diego and Bizzle were over here, and now Pamsu and Fatch, they get free shots from the Lighthouse, and they're going to put pressure onto Slacks and Clarity G.
And that is all due to that battle bus. The bus coming north to south allows Pamsu and Fatch to touch down first. They have that high ground tower. They get a weapon, and literally, we saw this yesterday with the south to north bus, where the team hide and seek across the water, got to hit those shots down early as well. So Slacks and Clarity G, unfortunately, have been up, I would say, the punching bag from round to round every now and again, depending on that battle bus. But you have to be ready for it, right? These are reasons why you need to adjust on the fly. And I'm sure if there's anything you get to take away, it's a lesson learned. These buses matter.
They have to clean up those initial drop spots in the drop map, and what we mean by that is based on where the bus is going, you need to know where to drop in order to land safely and not get just lasered by some of these other teams. Because again, we're in the NA East Finals. These are the best of the best in the East, and they're going to be able to hit those shots. And with just 5 games left, particularly with how far ahead Peter, Bot, and Byla are, if anything, right, and you're not going to catch them, you hope they just keep stealing points away from everyone else, because that means one late game dramatic could send you from 12th, 13th place all the way up into a big tens of $1,000s change in payday.
That's the thing, right? There is so much to play for here, and this is why I'm really calling today, or this entire finals, the new era. Walkers, Scare Bear, Peter, Bot, Byla, Pamsu and Fatch, even them on the bubble here in that conversation. Pledge and Teo playing exceptional. We have players that have really been proving, earning their stripes this last year, and they're doing it time and time again.
What specifically when it comes to Peter, Bot, and Byla, though, and looking historically, there are players who have had very good solo runs. Peter, Bot in particular, one of the stronger individual players because he plays a little funky. He plays a little different than the rest of NA East. You can see the calculated aggression. You see a little bit of sneaking coming around. And once he's now find a duo who wants to play his way, everything is just clicking. And again, we talked about how, they had a monstrous day 1 and they were able to put it all together. I mean, their qualifier run where, again, same teams roughly were competing against them in that first qualifier because nobody had been pushed through. They were able to put up a 10-point better performance than this. You can see Peter Bot in first in total elims right now. 28 eliminations by himself. That is a ridiculous number.
And you saw the standings. Literally, the team elims just in general, they are outperforming, outshining everyone right now. And again, at this point, we have to continue to highlight them. That's what this platform is all about. Show them love on all socials. I mean, if you were looking for some new players to check out, why are they finding success? There's a reason they're doing it this season so far is theirs. For Scare Bear and Walkers, though, they have sort of slipped down, right? About 5 placements or so. So this is going to be an important game for them. Keep in mind as well, they're doing it out of this contested drop. Command Cavern. This is not an easy drop spot to play.
No, but we have seen duos have a ton of success around here because while Command Cavern, there's a ton of teams who land around here. There is so much loot, so many little nooks and crannies that you can just quickly dip into, dip back out of. You can find the fishing holes and you can get enough to make the rotation possible. Now we're going to swing on over as Trashy is actually just hounding Peterbot right here right now.
First time we see this early clash like this. First time we see any team give them any sort of pressure, but we don't typically see Peterbot and Byla explore outside their drop spot very often, not this far. This is a different strategy from Peterbot and Byla, and they might just be paying for it.
Honestly, it looks like they're just trying to get hip to hip and ready to take this fight because they recognize the fact they're getting shot from 2 different angles, but it doesn't look like 2 different duos. That they can isolate a 1v2, you might just be feeding in more points to the top team.
It is Trashy and Glaze. They have these nice wide angles. Trashy's out in the open, but, you know, ultimately this is going to play into the favor of our team leading the game right now because what will happen is they're just farming Surge here. They're farming tags. They're farming this free fight almost early enough to be isolated where there's no one to distract them and actually put their 2 bullets in to the conversation, right? So this is working out for them. And, you know, all in all right now, I think they've decided maybe it's time to push in.
And there is a team way up there in that almost pseudo Porta Fortress type build. You can see all the ramps being thrown out to just give you better vantage angles. Just trying to get a little bit of the action. They want to just throw the tags in there. The one thing Peterbot and Byla have been very good about, though, is covering the sides. And right now, they're trying to make that push onto Trashy. They recognize that he's isolated, and Trashy's like, I don't necessarily want any of that. And he's going to double back and make sure Glace has a line of sight to be able to help him.
Keep in mind, Peterbot is, of course, rocking that mythic AR. It does so much damage. One of the other benefits, again, that we highlighted up at the top of the show, our analysts of Vivid and SBG did honestly, just an exceptional job of breaking down the strengths of their overall drop spot, the Collider, this latest addition to the center point of the map. But onwards with Clix and Day here. The flags are out. It's time to push on in. And Clix is trying to set up the fight right now. I like what I'm seeing here. A little bit of aggression. They get on into the box. They start to set up what would have been a nice little ambush. They already have a singular elim, so not too bad here to set them up. But all in all, they have a long tournament in front of them. They want to jump up to that top 10.
And the story for the NRG duo has been they want to play aggressive. They want to be taking these fights, which is where they found a lot of their success. But taking a little bit too much chip damage and then the defensive fights not allowing them to get above Surge kind of presses the pace. And they are very much so a momentum-based team. When they're rolling, when they're going downhill, when they're taking these fights after fights, they feel really good. But if they're not able to get it started, you can see there's a little bit more hesitation. There's a little bit more frustration in their gameplay.
I'm catching big deja vu from game number 5 yesterday, where Walltaker and Cold played the bridge. They played it so well. They looked for teams fighting in the general area, and then they just slid on up and basically injected their sense into that conversation. But hold up. Day is going to cut off an opponent here. Now looking for the fight. They have him exactly where they want him, but someone sneaks in from behind. It's not looking good. The punishment has been dealt. Day has to back on out. The walls have been grabbed, but hey, he buys himself some time.
Good disengage there, making sure he threw the ramp up and he retreated back into already built builds. Even if they weren't his own, it means he's not going to end up getting chipped through. But this is what we've talked about with all of their fights, how they want to take the aggression, but they're not necessarily being cognizant enough about covering their 6, making sure that they're defended from behind. You can even tell, hey, 1 open edit, 2 open edit, Skyline there. Clix recognizes that and he said, I'm going to back up a little bit.
Lot going on here. No reason to risk it all right now. Let the shots come through. These are, of course, small wins in their own, guys. Think about it. These tags, we know the implications of them. You're going to need a lot of damage. Clix again, playing a little sneaky right now. A lot of these are their builds, but is him and his duo on the same page is the true question now. It does seem like they decide, you know what, we have an advantage here, but there's another team now beginning to fire on in. That's not looking too good here. The odds are starting to slim down now as players begin paying attention to them. You know, Day and Clix here just really haven't found an area or position to steamroll teams the way we would normally do it. This is honestly a duo that plays off the momentum, will more often than not just drop a team quick. We don't really see the battles draw out like this.
Right now, we will see the third zone revealed on the left-hand side of the screen as Nico gets on the board. Let's go, Polarize and Nico. Don't stop shooting, and that's a big one for them as they're able to then get the confirmation. Blake will get onto threats as well. Day going to toss himself in a cone. Nice little defense. And I mean, Sphinx had a pretty solid day one yesterday as well. Was up in that elimination counter after the first couple of games. Granted, him and DeQuentin did slow down after the fact, but we've talked about this is the best of the best in NAs. All of these guys can fight defensively if they need to do it. But right now, Day trying to get aggro on the walls, but he doesn't have a shotgun.
I love this play right here. I love how they're working together. Day and Clicks in unison there to support one another. One's taking walls, the others putting out shots there. It was very nicely done, but DeQuentin and Sphinx have managed to honestly put up an excellent defense here and buy themselves some time. The cost, though, it's heavy. Already, material count about halfway. Heals, even less than that. Quanti and Larson listening to the battle going down after that last big game for Quanti and Larson. I mean, they're right back in the mix of things, seeing themselves in endgame. In the feed there, Kanata looks like he picked up another elimination. We haven't really seen too much of Kanata and Agers in the early game, but they have continued to find success here. And I love that because their game 1 and 2 yesterday was just abysmal. It was sad to see them have such a strong drop and honestly not have the strategy for Surge, but they have honestly fixed their strategy coming into about game 3 or so, and it really has shown. But there is always more to show, and that's why we have SBG on the line.
So with Storm Surge coming up, I wanted to talk about one of the primary Storm Surge strats. We see players going and prioritizing bushes to avoid having to sit in builds. Then while players are outwardly, openly taking shots, you just fire back. They don't know you're in the bush. You get a bunch of damage nice and easy here, and that's what Trashy was able to do.
Some fantastic chained headshots there from Trashy to make sure Surge isn't going to be threatening them again. Storm Surge, as we get the warning on the right-hand side, we'll see where the update is for Agers and Kanata, as we will also get a nice little replay of where he was able to find his elimination. You can see the shots coming through it. I mean, just able to immediately burn through Nexi. That was impressive.
That flick was insane.
Right?
Oh my gosh, he moved and just bam, it was quick. Here we have Peterbot and Byla. Big problems. 90 below. Make that 116. A little 20 added into the wound here. 22 players have to go down. We talked about pacing coming out of game 7, being a little quick for NA East. This time, though, everyone said, okay, put a halt to the brakes here now. We have to slow down. We have to figure things out. Maybe reevaluate this pacing here. Peterbot and Byla have to decide now. The most important thing, who do we battle? Where is there a team close enough for us to honestly take a fight, or will someone open up an edit? But ultimately, you have to hit the shots.
But they are very far into the center part of the zone. There's nobody really near them who they can realistically just push through as Polarize continues to keep himself on the board. That's what we talk about. Bring back that day 2 performance. And don't forget, as Peterbot takes a bunch of damage, if you're on the lower part of the table, right, you want Peterbot and Violet to keep hoovering up as many of these points as possible, because it makes your chance of pushing into the top 5, into the top 3, that much more viable. And right now, 175 below, only 20 seconds on the clock. You have to get a bead on somebody and get some rifles, or you need to fly and start pushing. The problem is when you do that, the teams who are in there, they're just going to wait. They're going to edit out. And we've seen this happen so many times where the team who's underneath decides, hey, we have to get wall to wall, but they wait way too long, and now they're in a tough position. This was the only time Peterbot and Byla struggled yesterday, and the only time they've fallen outside of the top 25 in the entirety of the set lobbies of the FNCS. They got 26 with 1 elimination in game 4, and Storm Surge ripped them apart while they're trying to rotate and get wall to wall. This time, they're trying to close that gap now, but here comes the Surge.
And this is the worst we've seen their loot pool as well. Only just a couple minis, a couple of big pots here, really not much for the quick heals. Byla is going to get just destroyed by some incoming fire there. Peterbot has to put the team on his back. What can he do? There's nothing that he can there, and he just gets melted by Glace in a blink of a moment. As quick as a flash, he goes down, and I'm sorry to say it, the writing's on the wall. Byla, you do not have the HP. It's all or nothing. He needs to pull a miracle out of the hat, and it's not going to happen this time. There's only one team that stands to benefit here, and that's Cold and Scented, and unfortunately, Walltaker and Cold are in a world of trouble themselves.
Yeah, Wall Taker needs to be wall holder right now.
Oh,
Hold
no.
is being pressured. He's already knocked. He loses the entirety of his shield. That's getting called out real fast.
And if Polarized and Nico there, a team that has just found their footing out of nowhere. Also, Bizzle and Diego adding into the mix here. So we have all these teams that, you know, they just say, game 8, I'm ready to pop off here. I need to come on in here and make a statement right now. Let me get some points. And it's up against some of our tops.
Right now you can see a little bit of space being given, but I do want to just kind of harken back to what we saw with Peterbot and Byla. And you mentioned as Clarity ends up finding Cold in the feed. Storm Surge is still ticking over right now, 25 damage every 5 seconds to 3 of our duos, with Demonics and Nick being one of them. But you mentioned Peterbot and Byla's loadout. Peterbot has been absurdly successful when he has the shotgun in his hands. He didn't have one. He dove in, he got that, he was able to break through the wall with the SMG, and then he was sitting there hip firing with a burst.
And that could be the result of Bizzle and Diego taking a little bit of their loot, kind of forces them out. They're playing a new strategy, a new game today. We didn't expect them to even go against Trashy out there in the field, right? And Glace, a team that is scary, especially in the early game. They're a scrappy duo that will play well in those early game engagements. So a lot of resistance being found this time around. And you know, that could genuinely change the story. I mean, we talked about how they've been so unstoppable, but if you don't put points on the board for 5 games, I mean, it's gonna open up for everybody.
And again, just going back to it, this is the first time in the entirety of the FNCS, going back to the qualifier, the set round, going back to what we saw yesterday, where Peterbot and Byla have been dropped without a point. No eliminations, no placement points coming through, as we just hit our first placement threshold of top 35. Every team is still on their feet. We'll get 1 point. The next point will happen at top 30, and then we'll get cascading placement points in the top 25. Now, if you are Wall Taker and Cold, you have to take advantage of this. If you want to push up, if you want to close that 90-something point gap, this is your opportunity to do it right now.
Such a rare moment has just kind of presented itself for Wall Taker and Cold here. A team that has been the most consistent we've probably ever seen. You just said they have not dropped a game where they didn't earn any points since the beginning of the FNCS. It happens now in finals, in day 2, and then you have a team that's right on their heels, that are actually alive and honestly quite situated, so there's a true chance to at least close the gap. Get up there and see what they can do to play and fight for the #1 spot. Kanata and Agers, I have to give them so much respect. Talk about resilience, keeping their head on the shoulders. Agers and Kanata got 43 points in their first 3 games, and then 99 points in the last 4, truly showing that they have adjusted their strategy and they figured it out. We saw it from Pledge and Teo. That is what is so great about the FNCS, seeing the minds of the pro players come into work and then develop these new strategies on the fly.
See Clicks and Day on the right-hand side of your screen looking to get a little bit of action here. They will have a tough rotation, not because of the teams who are in between them. Well, honestly, it might be that too, as Oliver, OG, and Jeff posted right up on top of them. But if you look at the geography, you're basically going straight into a funnel, and you really just have to hope that nobody is taking an about face and looking at you. We will get the Storm Surge warning on the right-hand side. Clicks and Day won't have to worry about that, and neither will Polo, as he ends up finding Nawson. But Trashy returns fire and gets a knock onto his duo. You can see Clicks and Day trying to make the rotation through here, but somebody else who stands to gain a lot with Peterbot and Byla going down is Miro and Booga. We saw Cold get a knock in the feed, though.
That's a big knock for Cold there, but Miro and Booga are looking for some more points as well. They are about 40 points or so trailing behind Cold and Wall Taker, so there's quite the gap that they need. Let's take a look here, though. It's Bucky who falls there. Bryce takes out Polo G. Meanwhile, on the side, hold up, Avery and Muzz getting it cooking over here. 7 below the Surge. This is a Command Cavern team who normally has their Surge all figured out. We've seen one game before where they did not have it, and Avery was the one who was down with the low HP coming out the zone. This time around, the shoe's on the other foot. They're up against Acorn and Edgy, an exceptional duo. And then, of course, you have Vert and Creo, that wild card team right below them.
We see Wall Taker in the feed getting another elimination. We also saw the tough rotation called by Day and Clicks. They got taken it out. Yeah, it was Jeff and Oliver OG. They gave him enough problems. And now Muzz and Avery are the only duo who is underneath. But this is huge because only one player needs to go down. They have to make a decision if they're going to sacrifice somebody, make the push, or let the solo just play it out. If you decide to split your heals, you're taking more effective damage every time. You could have just yeeted one of the players out, but it's so unfortunate because Avery is going to get knocked, not by the surge, which means he's not full confirmed. And because one person didn't want to sacrifice themselves, both go down 51 to 49. Storm Surge turns off.
Rokane and Joji stand to benefit so much from this. That was their direct competition. But look at this. The wall taker is down. We just saw Cold get taken down as well, and then he had to get picked up. So we saw wall taker clutch it up. Can Cold do it for his duo now? A huge shot, but it's not enough. And number 1 and 2 teams are now crossed out of the competition. Can Bugha and Miro take advantage of this?
1 down, 2 down, 4 down, 5 down. Bugha and Miro are the only team in the top 5 who can capitalize on this. If you're the rest of the lobby, that's fantastic news. But if you are Dignitas Miro and Sentinels Bugha, you're thinking, we have to win this game. We have to put up points. We have to find eliminations. And this is their chance to make that 2-horse race a 3-horse race.
But also, Kanad and Agers are now in 4th as well. So they're starting
That's
to
just showing how close it is, right?
Into the conversation. They're also catching up slowly but surely, creeping on up. Yamzo and Degen here trying to make best with this terrible situation as Degen's been taken out a little bit early. This is Adam Savage's pick here. Yamzo's just holding on right now. There's a player back here. He understands that. Willing to sit back here, play for the refresh. He actually grabs the body. I like this because he does have a lot of heals. Keep in mind, there's still surge to be earned there. Okay, so it's a couple tags worth. That can play a difference here. You never really know. It's TK who falls down. TK who did, in fact, take out Clicks and Day just a little bit ago. So this is that general area we've kind of seen the players begin to pocket up in. And now let's take a look. Let's check in. Let's get a little temperature check from Agers and Kanata. The heals looking great. The map's pretty decent, but the zone is far.
Zone is pulling due south with a lot of teams
Miro
have to rotate past it, and Miro finds one. Nico finds one as well. Hey, Polarized and Nico, keep taking those shots. Get yourselves on the board. Forget yesterday. It's all about today. And Rokane and Joji, hey, they're in 7th right now as well. Don't forget, our top teams are down because they've been so consistent. But when that consistency drops a little bit, drops a couple of times, everyone else has the opportunity to have that one big game to put them back on that leaderboard. And that's what's happening right now as the rotation comes out.
Degen and Niamzo started this day off like around 18th place. So did Rokane and Joji. And they're already inside that first pace, well within that top 5. These are those hero efforts we're watching unfold here on day number 2. But Miro and Bugha are alive. They're healthy. They're the scariest team on the heels of everyone else in 1st and 2nd place on high ground. Once again, Trashy and Glace are up here, and for good reason. Remember, they were clashing up against Peter and Violet just a little bit ago, but Acorn and Edgy now starting to get active as well. 3 elims, this is a big game for them.
Trying to find some room, 430 above. Nice little short pad, but Miro again taking a bunch of chip damage straight to the front side of the zone. And good job going up a level to make sure he didn't get edited down. We're in the cascading placement point, so as long as you can stay on your feet, you're good. The big difference being you have to find elims right now. You have to close the gap and find it as Qua gets a knock onto Dubs. You can see Miro doing the about face. Pam still gets a knock onto the roller. Trashy and Glace just raining shots down from above, and Agers and Kanata find one. They're on the bottom right-hand side. We'll take their look. That was hide and seek going down.
That's a big elimination right there. That's going to put them up at 2, 6 points, and of course more placement points out the side here. He's going to cut this team off. Hits his wall as well. A huge shot, but he gets punished even more. He didn't even have time to think about healing. I don't think he expected to just get hit so hard in that moment here. Agers now has to wait for the heals to drop. This is smart. It's important to go ahead and sit back here. He has some match, but how much time does he have to work with? We have Yamzo continuing to clutch up as well. So 2 big solos are alive right now. Rokane and Joji are one of the best duos up though as well, as they're still our 5th place team. But back on over to Agers. Here it is. Nico and Polarized have been playing a little too good today. It's time to run, Agers.
Keep the press going. Agers trying to find some space, but only 2 more builds, and that's going to be it. He's going to be stuck with mantles and just trying to recycle other people's builds. He does have the legendary striker, so there is some one-shot potential if you can find somebody low, but he was the somebody low, as Trashy and Glace are looking to capitalize on everyone else. But again, Miro still up on their feet. Only 2 eliminations going through as Rokane finds his 4th for himself right before XF ends up taking him down. Steve gets the confirmation. Pamsto is actually going to benefit from that as Joji and Rokane go down.
Huge shot now for Bugha and Miro to jump back in here. They're about 10 points away. They meet up with one another. It's all or nothing. A huge shot there from Bugha onto Agers. Put that man down. Earn those points here. And now they're on the heels of 2nd place here. High ground's not free though. They're coming down. Might be a little too early, some might say. We'll find out. Bugha and Miro still up and cooking here. Another Elim, that's onto Thatch. Miro makes it in, ever so slightly, just barely, but the support from one another is beautiful to see unfold here. Miro now takes the lead, edging his way out to the front side, and you have to love that we have a 2v2v1 now.
Pamcell in the back of the zone, just using the med mist, trying
Miro's
to take it
on
up.
height.
Miro rips height away as a solo, and then you can see the push coming through using that
Oh my
drum.
God.
He's gonna find it, but he has to get the confirm, and he goes down. He goes down. Now it's a 1v1. Trashy and Pamcell will be on the other side, trying to find it, trying to get back in the zone. He's looking. He's like, where is he? I know he's in the zone. I know he's waiting it out. The French-Canadian just trying to heal and look for an opportunity, but Trashy is going to be able to find it. 10 elimination. I'll make it 11 in the victory royale from Glace and Trashy. They pull themselves all the way up into the top 15 there.
What a huge game for them, and a big game for Pamstu and Thatch, who clutch up as well. But man, oh man, talk about Miro and Booga in the end game. Let's take a look at the highlights here. Shout out to Trashy and Glaze. A big game for them. A huge 11 elimination win. And look at that. You get to end it off with a nice shotgun shot. It was important that he hit that. That was worth so many points.
Yeah, being able to put up the 11 eliminations is +3 per, so it's 33 plus the 32 for the victory royale. I mean, that's a nice, and I mean nice, 65-point game. And again, we've talked about how good Peterbot and Bila, Walltaker and Cold have been, but the second they go down early and everyone else picks up some points, we're gonna have some shifts.
They did not take full advantage of it though, so second is still a ways off, but third place is starting to catch up. Vivid has to be happy about that one because that's his prediction, so let's slide it on over.
Thank you, fellas. Yeah, Trashy and Glacier. Vivid's doing a mini celebration here as well, because Booga and Miro make it into that end game, clutching up, getting those position points, because they know that other teams ahead of them have gone down. It's going to be really exciting. This is leaderboard. SVG, what a time. What a time to be alive that was as well, because the leaderboard will be very different after this one. But we can see here Miro and Booga. We'll come to Vivid in a second, walk us through what happened. What did they do so well in this game?
This is what you expect out of them, just playing perfectly together, hip to hip, looking at the same thing at all times, perfectly navigating their layers, getting just enough refreshes without being too aggro and then going down because of it. And we see a slight adjustment. They were taking little short launch pads this game, not going all the way up in the air and getting beamed by height. So that little adjustment was saving them HP, saving them from having to slow down and keeping them alive in this game. But Vivid, I'll let you talk about them.
Yeah, I mean, no, you talked about it perfectly.
Able to pick up the Elim, stay alive just long enough, and then just playing together. Edgy is one of the best fraggers in the region, playing Acorn is also one of the best IGL. The combo is now shooting up the leaderboard. On day one, but now day two, it's their time to shine.
Capitalizing, they're capitalizing. Doing so well. Listen.
Went down right there. A lot of points. Look at this. Yeah, they went up 9 positions because of that game right there. So expect to see some more highlights out of these guys.
Yeah, we can see here SPG as well. 282 is where Peterbot and Bila are currently. We'll talk about them in a second, but you can see here now Cold and Walltaker up in 204 points. They have taken that down a little bit here. I mean, they've got some back. 3 teams are now above the 200-point threshold, SPG.
Yeah, we see Miro and Booga. They didn't move places, but they closed the gap. They're getting that much closer just to second place. They're almost there, Vivid. And now it's going to get even closer. Agers and Kanata continue to put on a strong day, too. Joji and Rokane, after a tough start to today, have a great second game. And hey, you picked DJ and Yamzo. They're showing up today and having a great day too as well. Vivid, I mean, what are they doing?
Listen, they and a bunch of other teams are just doing absolutely incredible at taking full advantage of the fact that Peterbot and Violet that game, for the first time it seems like during this whole entire FNCS, they had Storm Surge problems. Now, Storm Surge has been a big part of a competitive for a very long time. Essentially what it is it's like a comparison as to how much damage you have done versus the rest of the lobby. You can find Storm Surge pop up at the end of like second zone, and then at the end of fourth zone, and then during those moving zones as well. Now, that first threshold, we're gonna look for 70 players. So if you are one of those 30 players that are still alive, right, above that 70 player mark that hasn't done enough damage or more than other players in the lobby, expect to start taking this 25 damage every 5 seconds, and it is detrimental. As you can see here, we talked about it. Peterbot and Viola could not find any of that early damage, and that's why they ended up going down this game.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's a moving threshold. There's no set number, which makes it even difficult. Yeah. So in qualifiers, for example, in zone number 3, the threshold was typically between 300 to 600, and it goes even higher. It's from yesterday, it's been 500 plus basically every single game. So that just puts it into perspective. That's 2 full players, 200 plus 1.5 taking down just to be above that threshold in third zone. So that's a ton of damage, and it almost doubles every time the threshold shows up. So fifth zone has been about 900, and it's about 1,000 in seventh. So you got to understand, when the lobby's closed, it's less players, you don't need as much damage.
Yeah, it really forces your hand with it as well. You have to react quickly, because in that moment it's either med up or get some tags.
Yeah, and it does a great job of forcing a lot of these engagements to go down in the early game. You know, SVG did a great segment there. That's why we see some bush plays happening, some players hiding out, getting for some cheeky little tags out of that.
The bush plays, a classic here at FNCS. Right, it's time for Game 9. Things could change here. We can still see a big lead from Peterbot and Violet, but what will happen after this one, we'll just have to find out. It's back to Sundown and to Monster to bring us everything from this game here on day 2 of FNCS NAE.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, as we close in on the halfway point of day 2, 3/4 of the way through the entirety of the finals. And we got a 3-horse race now, all of a sudden. A little bit of stall at the top, and Booger and Miro, they capitalize.
I call that a big stall, because now what we have is a new dynamic, a new team entering into the Collider drop spot. It was almost like Easy Street day 1, where you only had 2, but 3 is a party, no doubt about it. So with Bizzle and Diego jumping into the mix here, how will Peterbot and Violet essentially react? What will be their play? It's clear that moving south, hitting Gleason Trashy didn't work out. Gleason Trashy also made an end game, that game number 8, but here it is. Hopping on into game number 9 here. There is a lot to be told, a lot to unfold here, most importantly, because the standings, the story, is getting more and more interesting.
And again, still an 80-plus point lead. So what we saw last game, basically going to have to see 2 more times.
Yes.
And with only 4 games total, this one and then 3 more, the time is ticking as we're going to swing on over Synapse Station. Boyle and Except looking for some room, and a great first pickup there. Able to get that striker burst in. Will Boyle be able to find those long shots that have just harassed so many players?
Now, this has been a contested drop for the last 2 days for Boyo and Except. It's been a back-and-forth story here. They found a little more success coming out early. This time, though, on over to Golden and Fable Taco. We saw this fight last time be a bit dragged out, right? Took a long time to conclude. Now, though, getting to a bit of a resolution faster here. Taco has to figure out what he's going to do. Trashy on the other side is going to go ahead and save Glace. Now they have themselves a 2v1 situation. That big endgame performance, though, from Trashy and Glace took them well outside of the top 20s on into that 14th bubble position. They currently stand to earn a lot more money than they did when they started the day off.
And again, we talked about how the bus path impacts so many different things. In the top left-hand corner, again, we see Hide and Seek off of the southern bus path picking up a knock before one of those sleepier Lighthouse teams are able to touch their feet down. However, we're going to stick to the gas station story here. Trashy and Glaze are just trying to slow this fight down. They don't want to give Fable Taco a window, and he's not going to get it. It gets slammed shut in his face, saying, hey, you stay outside. You can watch what happens in the next game, as they're going to continue to try to pick up the pace here. And now it looks like it's not just 3 teams, there's 4.
Because Sinetto lands outside at the bridge just to the north, and it seems like they're rotating in southern a little faster than they were before, and for good reason. Let's talk about it. The reason that will be is because why not? There's more congestion happening here. There's more of a likelihood that the teams are combating one another so they can come on in, find tags sooner, and possibly get a little bit more success here. Skakuga and, of course, Users FN, though, they've been middling in the tournament, right? Staying somewhere up near the top, not necessarily on that first page, but very much in the conversation for one of those last-minute stretches on into the top 10, maybe even a top 5 if they do really well.
And one thing to note here is Peterbot and Byla haven't necessarily been taking these initial fights at the Collider, but the big difference from what we saw at the very start of yesterday is they're no longer even trying to push for these early game elims, which is fine. They don't have to be taking those risks. They are that far ahead. However, when they're not taking these early fights, they're put under Storm Surge pressure. The only 2 poor games they've had in these finals, and I mean they've had 3 total across all of the set lobbies, have been when they're under Storm Surge pressure.
Storm Surge pressure is important. This is why we continue to break it down, talk about the implications, and also try to relate that and tie it all in as often as possible, because that's the biggest difference, I would say, from normal play, right, casual play and competitive, is that as you get into those later stages of any competitive format or game tournament, you're gonna notice the dynamic changes. And if you're not prepared, if you don't have that experience, it's gonna creep up on you. But here, for Booga and Miro, this drop spot's looking decent, but let's slide on over. A little action here to keep us on in and dialed in, stretching Commandment. Trying to do something big here. The last time they took this fight, though, it did not work out here at the Coney Crossroads, as they've been battling this out, what, for the 9th time now here as we're in Game 9?
Yeah, and I mean, Death and Tabnet played very well yesterday. They were able to be consistent through the first couple of games. Now we'll swing on over. This was a fight we saw resolved in the first game where Glace and Trashy got caught out after being held down by Golden and Fable Taco, and it looks like that's going to be the case again as Narwhal swims his way on in, and he's going to spear Glace.
What's sad about this is that Trashy and Glace have, again, gone from outside the top 20 on into this 13th position here, especially this game already earning 6 points off the elimination. So talk about a team that's sort of creeping their way back on into this top 10 conversation to end the tournament today, but now being put on a bit of a hold here for Death and Tabnado, our team that's going to keep us dialed in for some action right now. Has a world of problems. Not only is there a team shooting from behind them, they have a very skilled Commandment and Stretch in front of them. Yes, Commandment and Stretch are having a bit of a struggle here in the tournament series, but this is no pushover team.
I mean, like you said, we saw Stretch on social media earlier today saying it's a little bit more reinvigorated, and you can see he's probably going to look to apply that here. Whereas Tabnet, Death, they want to get into the conversation, be on that front page. Don't forget, hey, just because you don't win, there is still tens of thousands of dollars on the line. Every team you pass, once you're into those top thresholds, will make you a little bit more on the season. And right now, Commandment and Stretch trying to avoid going down early here, as Stretch basically used all of his HP there, down to just a bare sliver of white.
What a team play. Hey, Stretch, you have the big pot. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to go ahead and use it for myself. I'm going to help you get a little bit more comfortable. On over to the Wall Taker and Cold here, though. On the other side, once again, this is their favorite position to be in after their early game rotates. They play the bush, they play the bridge for Metal, for Clay, Day and Clicks here, though. It's been a back and forth battle. Clicks finally, though, ends the fight quick. It's a re-engagement onto Sphinx and DeQuentin. We've seen this battle happen before. Last time it took a long time to close out, though.
And you know for a fact, Clicks right there was boxed. 200.
Hey.
But by the way, the strikers can't hit for 200. He'll still make the calm, though.
Definitely, it's something our pro players love to do. It's that excitement that comes into the fight there. You know, it's hard to kick it. Players are so used to making those call-outs here, but let's jump on over to the Command Cavern. Polarized and Nico, man, that last game, if they could have just done that in day one a couple more times, they would surely be up at the top, but they have managed to find themselves a little bit of a fresh breath of air, if you might say.
But honestly, I love the fact that they are still going and still pushing. We talked about it right at the start, but you can't let one bad day keep you down. Anything can happen in Fortnite. All of these players deserved, qualified, pushed their way all the way through. And the fact, I mean, they caught a ton of slack from a bunch of other players being like, how is that possible? All this stuff. Well, they're still here playing, right? Everybody else who's watching, you're watching for a reason right now, and they're pushing and they're making an impact on these other teams, and that's what you want to see right now. As Elite and Bank, they're getting put through the trials. They're trying to create it, and I mean, Nico and Polarize are playing great. This person's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. And Elite and Bank were also playing fantastic yesterday. We saw them switch up the pace here, but now starting to slip behind, not finding as much success as before because you have a team like Nico and Polarize all of a sudden just playing very, very well. Look at that. They picked up 44 points that last game. A huge way to go from 0 to hero. All of a sudden, they are on the board here. And he's not right in front of him, but a team slides on in. Is that, who is that? Is that Buzz and Adrian on the other side? What team just slid on into this conversation here? They're trying to inject themselves. It's Scare Bear and Walkers, a team that absolutely needs it. They were up in the top 5, and then they say, no, 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 we're here to fight. We're going to continue to push on through as well. And we have a big clash here. All of a sudden, everyone has to slow down.
One thing to note, we are pulling to pretty much the same first zone that we had in game number 1 on today, so game 7 overall. They're going to have a pretty far east rotation. With that being said, with the 4 flops on Nico, they can chill forever. The floppers can really offset a lot of this 1-tick zone. The first 2, when you're in the storm, it only does 1 damage per second. Like, the players are more than capable of being able to offset that pressure, as now we're going to swing on over, and we'll get a nice little temperature check with where our current leaders are, because I'm very interested to see whether or not Storm Surge is going to end up being a problem for them. However, what's not a problem is they're getting a supply drop directly on top of the head, and Peterbot has a shotgun this time.
Yeah, the shotgun that he loves as well, that high fire rate weapon, but also already securing themselves that launch pad from the drop, and now an additional one because, of course, they get this airdrop here. So that is a bonus point on top of a bonus point here. You'd love to see it here. Now with 2 launch pads, it's looking like this might be a game that it'd be impossible to stop them unless the Storm Surge does. And it does look like there are so many players alive right now. Day is going to find another one in the feed there. That is on to Playify. So this time around, Clicks and Day have managed to start to turn online, find a couple Elings, find success.
Yeah, in the second zone, again, reveal coming through. Very similar to what we saw in game number 7. I believe we had 2 of these yesterday as well. So the teams should kind of have an idea of where they want to rotate, which duos are around them, what they're capable of doing. But speaking of that, Day and Clicks on the board and still going. Nico finds one onto Walkers, and I'm going to put a little bit of an outside prediction coming in here as we're going to check it out, what Nico is able to do. I think Nico and Polarize pushed themselves up into at least top 25 today, arguably maybe even top 20. They're playing very well, and I want to see that fire lit under them.
I mean, it already has been lit, right? You have the community pretty much talking down, and then they said, you know what? Let's show up today. Let's show players why we made it this far. And let's be honest, more often than not, the guys talking aren't the dudes in the conversation with y'all in finals. So Nico and Polarize proving that they are some of the best players on the region. And you know what? They deserve to be here. The performances are speaking for themselves.
There was also a reboot that we just heard near them, and it might be something where they're trying to hawk that player out. So we're going to hop on over with Cold and FaZe Walltaker. And you're probably saying, why are you calling him Walltaker? Hey, that's his name. That's what he wants to be called. We know it's scented, but at the end of the day, rep yourself, rep your brand. Your name matters when you're on the big screen and you're on a stage like this. And speaking of being on the big screen, what's up, Cineplex? How you guys doing? I know Adam made the joke. He's like, wow, look, I made it. I'm on the big screen, but it's cool. Yeah, 1, super cool. 2, a little stack. I won't leak where, but Adam's been on the big screen before. I'll let y'all go do some digging in that regard. But
oh, no.
You see Tabne pick up Bizzle and Diego. A nice little double for him there.
Great double for them there. They're going to start racking up some extra points here. Death and Tabne have started to make themselves well heard in this game number 9 here. Now, again, this game will officially mark the just about halfway point of the day 2 finals here for us. There's 12 games, of course, that happened over the last 48 hours or so. But in the feet, Scare Bear gets fully taken out now by Bank, so that's going to be the conclusion of Walkers and Scare Bear once again. It seems like them going back into the command cavern isn't working today. Yesterday, they were kind of leaving the drop spot and playing outside of it and finding more success.
But this is something we see a lot of when we get these eastern pulls. You get kind of those trickling fights on the western side of the map. We're going to swing on over with Aegis, Kanata, as they're trying to go through. And I would call Kanata by whatever name that is there, but I speak absolutely no Asiatic languages whatsoever. I can even tell you where those characters are from. So as we come through, we see Tabs picking up Joji, but Pamstow going to return the favor, getting the confirmation onto Macwood. Joji and Rokane having a hard time staying consistent going up. The individual efforts have been what's carried them through.
Yeah, and this is an important moment for them. It does seem like they've lost their vehicle, which is what honestly makes their crop spot exceptional. And we have such a bad spot to be in. 123 damage below the surge here. 18 players have to get eliminated. These tags, crucial to their success right now. Couple being made, but 40 seconds until the wrath of the Storm Surge truly turns on, begins to damage them. Another team is the 5th place team of Rokane and Joji. As you can see, this great two-shot here. They are right next to each other, both sides on the west, right? The western portion of the bubble. They will ultimately start looking at one another soon. That could be Kanata. For all you know, they're shooting on in.
Yeah, and you don't want to be taking chip damage like that if you're going to then be under pressure from the Storm Surge. Rokane and Joji, we did see Joji get knocked, but he was able to get picked up. So they've already invested a decent amount of heals to get him back up to this effective HP. And in 5 seconds, Storm Surge is going to turn on. They're going to get wall-to-wall with Mason and Jackson and try and push this fight.
And that's a lot of damage they're going to have to find here. Mason and Jackson are no pushovers when it comes to these box fights here. These are teams that are resilient. They've been in these early game scrappy battles before. And you know what? They put the punishment down. They understand all the techniques, wait for the pre-fires and everything in between. Rokane and Joji start to fire back though. Great tags there onto Duo on the side, making a cold peek. But that might be the biggest mistake there. Rokane not hitting the headshots on that Acorn and edgy peak right there. It could spell disaster for them now. Meanwhile, on the high ground, Kanata and Agers was the team looking down. They have that mountain peak. So when the fight breaks out here, when the new builds come through, you know they're going to start lasering in as well.
Players are dropping like flies. This is that 25 damage every 5 seconds. Joji finds a monstrous shot, but nearly at the cost of his entire HP.
He
and
gets
it just wasn't quite enough.
My God.
Just barely able to get the mini off, but he has to find another shot right now because the Storm Surge is going to come through and he gets picked up. If you get hit by Storm Surge, you don't have enough time to then pop that big pot. It takes 5 seconds going out, and the huge shotgun shot was not enough. That was the threshold you talked about as we swing on over. They got 2nd place in the last FNCS finals, but right now Spade and Chim under the pressure, under the caution. A great, absolutely great armored wall slammed down on that ramp, trying to alleviate some of it. But Jeff and Oliver say, it's okay, we'll just go around. We'll find the side door.
They're not going to let that elimination walk free. They take them down. It's enough to get them above the surge for now. And now that leaves one single team below the surge here getting hit by those lightning bolts. Everyone else kind of gets a moment to breathe, but that cost a lobby so much health. So many of our top teams fall in there, and we're going to see that wear and tear start to take place now in Game 9.
But somebody I didn't see there was Peterbot and Viola, but somebody I want to see is Vivid. What you got for us?
Just wanted to quickly talk about how good Bugha and Miro really are in these early game rotations. Now, we actually just saw Joji and Rokane go down the Storm Surge, unfortunately, but they were on the edge of the zone, and they actually landed north of Bugha and Miro. But Bugha and Miro are way ahead of the lobby here. They make this rotation from all the way Chonker Speedway very, very early on, and effectively, they can just walk on foot all the way up to Sanctuary, which is effectively in the middle of the zone now. That's why they are so good.
I mean, so good is honestly a little bit of an understatement, but hold the phone here as Viola is down. So we talk about adversity. We talk about how there needs to be a little bit of a slip and a fall and a stumble from our first place team, and unfortunately that seems to be the case. However, with that being said, if there is a solo I want in this position based off of what has happened this season, it's Peterbot.
Peterbot definitely has that clutch potential, but if you're our number 2 and 3 teams, Bugha, Miro, Sentin, Cold, this is an opportunity of a lifetime here that could potentially present itself. Now, what you're noticing, Peterbot is what could be the worst position. He's in a valley. He is pinched between 2 teams, maybe, no, honestly, 4. About 4 teams here. They can look down, they can lobby, focus him, and they saw him rotate in as a solo. Luckily, though, they're focusing on players outside the zone, so the attention's not on him.
Because he's able to break line of sight, something Peterbot does incredibly well if he uses the natural geography. But one thing to note here, once we actually get a look, take a peek in the bottom right-hand corner. You see how many teams are on that western side. It's something we talked about earlier, how we just keep going east, and this is actually one of the hardest zones to rotate through. As we're going over the islands that are to the east of the sanctuary, there are so few viable land places to end up going, and you don't want to put yourself over water. So there's basically the southern island and then a little bit of real estate on the northern part, but Booga ends up getting the confirmation there onto Bryce G. As you can see, Walltaker and Cold are trying to just scoot in and find a little bit of these oases, try and find a little bit of room. As we swing on over to my prediction, Luminosity Gaming Jumper, Dignitas Duke.
Second, third, fourth are still alive. There's opportunity here for that gap to be closed. Any teams within the top 10 can start fighting their way towards that top 5 right now. Nothing is off the table, as we have seen the story change here in day number 2. For Duke and Jamper, though, a lot to fight for. This Storm Surge, oh man, it cost them a lot. You can see there's only bandages in play. You have Skittles down low here. They have to make a rotate, but they know there's a team lurking inside that cone. He's saying, hey man, what are you doing? Why aren't you moving? They need to wait for a second.
Yeah, but don't forget, as soon as you get to this fourth zone, this is 5 ticks. So yeah, you might think, oh, a bandage is great. You're not actually gaining any HP first, so they're gonna try and recycle the pad, but a high pad in this circumstance, 2 bullets will end up taking out Duke. We've seen them do this high pad a couple times and just pray that nobody looks their direction. That's gonna be the case. And instead, he actually looks right in Bucky's direction, knocks on the door, says, hello, anybody home?
What's crazy is that could be the refresher that they needed this game, but they do not fully commit there. Instead, they waited out. They have this high ground essentially granted to them. And this zone is just insane. You have a huge pocket of players in the northwest, an even bigger one down at the southwest as well. And the land mass is in play towards that south. So the likelihood of the zone going there is pretty up there, but it will only tell in a couple seconds. First, though, Chimp has to survive this now because these tags, he's hitting them, but it's not enough.
Half in, half out is almost guaranteed to pull to the south. There is a very slight chance it goes to that little northern bit, but
oh my gosh,
that's like a 1% pull. That is ridiculous.
Through, and this is what we call a nightmare zone. This is what nightmares are fueled on right here. Chimp, he's like, oh great, I got the zone, but
one shot,
dude, how are you gonna survive this? He's below the zone. He gets taken out. That's free loot there, and honestly, Threats and Rise will be the first to claim it as they slide on over to that side. Literally, 0 players are in the zone.
Yeah, not a single one in Threats and Rise. They're the yellow triangles in the bottom right-hand corner. They're getting in and saying, all right, let's just get some space and make everyone rotate through us. See, Polo ends up picking up Nico there. We will have Storm Surge turned off as we have 50 players, almost in the cascading placement point of 27. But this is going to test these duos. How well have you drilled these water zones? What resources do you have available to you? Because you basically have to have fantastic timing or even better resources when it comes to using the map and using the launch pad. And Peterbot, somebody who does that incredibly well. Recycling somebody else's pad, and all he wants to do is stay up, and he's going to keep hunting for these pads.
I love this.
Hunting for the pads, he's looking for Elim.
I love that he sits around there, does some tags. If the zone takes him out, he will find some placement points, and Elim's off of that as well. He sees a duo to the side, thinks about it, but no, instead, now has to play for position. He needs a refresher, but mistakes may have been made. He has to reload his weapon now, so he could be regretting it here, as he could not take advantage of the chaos there and landing on a teammate. Instead, he says, okay, time to change layer here. There's targets all around him, but he has to get ready for the fight.
He's getting dropped down.
Oh, no.
Builds, only 2 builds. He's going to be forced right in the face, and that's the biggest thing. When you have those drum shotguns, yes, they're super effective, but it's an attrition weapon. You have to trade your HP pool out for the higher rate of fire, and he just didn't have it, not having the time to even pop the minis. So now, Peterbot and Violet, yes, they were able to pick up, I think it was, what, maybe 6, 7 placement points? Dignitas Miro, Sentinels Booga, still up on their feet.
They fell in 23rd place there or somewhere about, so it's okay, but it's not great. It allows teams like Miro and Booga to go ahead and jump on in, vault themselves, continued into that conversation. But I want to know, where are the others? Where's Cold? Is he still in play right now? Where is Ager's duo? Are they still in play right now? Those are the teams that stand to benefit from the #1 duo going down already here so early. But take a look. Out comes the rotates.
Yeah, and here we are hopping on board here. Walltaker Cold looking for some room. And honestly, I'm not sure I've seen this zone this season, whether watching all the cash cups and the scrims. There is no viable land in play. The percentage to pull this is ridiculous. And the players, Slacks and Clarity, are trying to cut to the outside. Everyone else taking to the sky, but they're so open. Everyone is focused on rotating. There's very few exchanges going out, which means the players who get to the front of the zone first and can about face are going to have an utter buffet of eliminations to be able to pick up.
This is NA East Finals, ladies and gentlemen. This is where things start to get very interesting for us. It's endgame, it's high ground plays, it's teams playing for their first ever victory royale in a final stage setting. These type of moments will change the mentality of our pros forever. A team like Polo and Shoney, first time showing up in a finals. Can they secure a win? Yes, they can, and if they do, that's the confidence booster for the year to set things up. But right now, back into the conversation here, Walltaker by himself, still holding on to that placement point. He has now jumped up, though. He's gone from 202 to 219. Can he get on the wall? No! He gets taken out there. Day slides in, clicks follows up, and down he goes, kicking down the door. 4 Elans for them. Miro and Booga, however, are still alive here now. Down goes Miro. Booga has to clutch this up. He turns back. He wants to take the fight. A solo slides in. Who was that? He's out of there.
Trying to find some spots, but no more builds for Booga. And notice, hey, full water zone to full water zone. Yeah, there's a little bit of land in between, but what are you going to do once you get there if you don't have builds? You see Booga trying to check the backside of the zone, trying to see if there's anything there. He finds some flops, finds some splashes to be able to get some room. Up on the high ground, Polo, Shonyi trying to just run this out, push themselves up the leaderboard. But right now, the room is given for the World Cup solo champion to put his statement on it. He needs to find a refresh on the backside of the zone. That was his very last build to just cover the top. He's trying to find someone on the backside, and he goes down in 13th.
To the hands of Larson there, who slides on up, picks up those points. Now on over to our number 6 position team, Pamsto and Fatch here. They started this game at around 11th. They jumped their way on up into this conversation, as has Edgy and Incourt. A huge shot there. Love the pre-fires. That is what it is all about right there. Armored walls get slammed down, though, so things are going to start slowing down. Nexi and Narwhal find themselves in an endgame already at 5 eliminations here. They're starting to rocket their way on up. These are big opportunities now for teams to go ahead and get into these conversations. And remember, you want to do well no matter who you are, because there is so much money on the line. This is it. It's all or nothing for Tabne. He is just trying to clutch up right now. A great game for him. Puts him around 6. Polo and Shoney, though, they are not looking to jump down. Not just yet. As I say that, though, he hops in and finds a great elimination there onto Rise. Meanwhile, Polo's like, hold up, I'll sit back. Thanks for the refresher there. You can give me some of that loot. We'll work with that.
Right now, Fatch, Pamstel, they're trying to work on the low ground while Shonyi and Polo are up on the high ground. You can find some great shots coming out from Fatch. The French Canadians trying to push right to the top 5. He finds an angle. Give me them toes, he said. Fatch cuts them down like their Achilles, not dipped in the river Styx. As you can see, Nexi finding some room. Nexi and Narwhal, they're making a push themselves. 5 eliminations, plenty of control going through, and we're pulling all the way back over water. Forget what I said about viable land. I'm just wrong. We got water zones all day here in the east.
Definitely opportunity right here and now. Fatch and Pam here trying to get active. I like what I'm seeing here, Sundown. I mean, it's going to get a little crazy. Who's going to clutch up?
They're trying to find the shots here. Nexi ends up going down. Fatch gets traded out himself. Pamsel, he wants to find the refreshes. Polo dips in, and Pamsel gets the gift from above. You see him timing, waiting to make sure he gets the maximum for the siphon, and he goes straight up, recognizing it's a 1v1. Pamsel, the French Canadian, he says, whoa. 2-horse race? No, let's make it a 4-horse race. Don't forget about me. I predicted them the entire time last season, and maybe I was just a season late, but the newcomer, Shonyi, trying to do something about it, but what he does is run out of builds, and all of a sudden, the French Canadians, they're knocking on the door as well, saying, hey, you got room up there for me? It looks pretty cozy.
You can't help but root for Pamsto and Fatch. You've seen all the content pieces really starting to blossom on who Pamsto and Fatch are. They're a duo that play with one another. They're a duo that believe in one another. A low ground victory is no easy feature. What a great win coming out of Game 9.
And they are roaring, and I mean roaring here on day 2. And again, everyone talks about, like, hey, maybe there's kind of these underdogs and all that type of stuff. Fatch got 10th in World Cup in solo.
Exactly.
Pamstel won the Grand Royale coming through. I mean, these guys can play, and they're showing up right now.
It's crazy to think that we have had this team with so much competitive history, and it's almost like we were slept on them for a little while, but you play, you continue to play, and now they're showing up here when it matters most today. Let's hop on over, though. We need some numbers crunch. Let's get over there.
We're going to crunch all those numbers right now. Pamsto and Fatch, they're GGs. They've done it.
I think we can all agree, though, the wackiest storm of all time. I mean,
up there, over there.
I mean, the water to an island. So what? I mean, it was bonkers, but it made for a really entertaining game. I think that's one of the great things about this as well. A new game like this in FNCS finals really switch things up because the traditional way of playing this might be thrown completely off. Vivid, what a way to win things out. But again, Peterbot, Byler go down early, but Hamstone Fatch, we got to select these guys. Fantastic stuff.
Hamstone Fatch showing up. Sundown said it perfectly. Listen, do you guys have enough room up there? As you can see right here, they're at 153 points going into this end game, and they end up upwards of 200 points, so a huge 50-point swing for them. Honestly, coming at a very good time. You mentioned it. Peterbot going down, Wall Taker and Cole going down, moving up there a little bit early, I think like 12, right? Coming out with a victory royale. It is going to be very close to the top of this leaderboard.
It is going to be, and we talked about it, how it was so close between everyone else. And we've seen a new duo win a game every single time that hasn't won yesterday. This is a crazy difference between yesterday to today, and it is going to be a mashup of all these teams. But quick shout out to Fatch and Pamston playing this superbly. We talked about them going for the high ground with Mel, clearly showing us, again, it doesn't matter what layer, they're playing everything, and they're slaying out. Pam had 8 teams all together. That was incredible. And we love to see just the continuance of teams rising and rising.
Let's look at our... See it again. Golden Wall Taker taking 219 now.
I mean, now we see Hamstone Fatch showing up to the party. Acorn and Eddie, they have moved their way up very slowly throughout the day and finally becoming in the top 5.
It's been a crazy day thus far to see all these teams shifting the leaderboards. And we can see on page 2, 11 through 20 is not that far behind those places in that top 5 to top 10 position. It's going to be a really close battle at the end of the back half of this. But the team that also is highly seed and net. Able to grab several new wins in the game and get themselves up on top, onto this top 10 for now. We saw them pop off in semifinals, putting together and now they're 6th place. 6 places? I mean, we have literally no idea how this is going to continue as it is so close.
This is why we love this competition so much, with 12 games and finals as well, because the leaderboard fluctuates so much. So with the top team, you go down early. This makes a massive difference in its proceedings. It's going to be interesting to see how this affects things with only these 3 games to go.
Yeah, honestly, pretty tough position here for Booga and and here.
Okay, so all of a sudden the French Canadians, they put themselves in there, and now we got 4 people over 200 points.
Yeah, definitely. Players are starting to catch up now. And, you know, Vivid and SPG broke it down best. You have to take advantage if you want to catch up to our #1 team. But since that hasn't happened, we have had some of the most interesting second to about top 20 that we've ever seen. So as we start hopping on to game number 10 here, this is where big question marks are everywhere. Who's going to end this day inside the top 10? Who's going to really fight and hurdle their way up thousands of dollars into more prizes?
I think one of the most interesting things to see, as we do have a north to south bus pass, so keep an eye on what happens in Sleepy Sound here. When we look at the leaderboard and we look at the deltas on the left-hand side where it shows how people are changing, the top 3, they've just had a line next to it all day, where it's just like, hey, this is the spot you bet it. Everyone else has had like +9, +12 up on the top of the page. But right now, Cody G and Slack, hey, the shoe is on the other foot. Finally, they're able to throw some shots down on somebody gliding.
Yes, they got the bus on their side, and that's hide and seek yet to land on that south side of Sleepy Sound. A team that, again, had an exceptional day 1. Kicked off a little slow, slipped back, but then jumped right back into that conversation, netting themselves on into that top 10, now holding a top 7 spot currently as we enter into this game right now. But Panther and Gas, you know that they have this very odd drop spot that they've managed to work out here. Honestly, playing with very little. So, man, if you want to learn how to play off a scrappy drop, this is the team to be unlocked right here.
I absolutely love this split. It's one of my favorite ones on the outside of the map, again, as somebody who plays very much to not fight people, because honestly, every single person in Arena is just infinitely better than me at this point now. I mean, you're able to make it work, and then especially when you can hit those shots and you can pressure, as they've seen, they're able to get the ball rolling. Speaking of getting the ball rolling, Rokane and Joji, they find a pair right away.
Glace, that's a big one. Remember, Glace was just here not too long ago, so Rokane and Joji look inwards and get shots from way off in the distance. So that's actually a huge setback for Crackers.
Well, that's that north to south bus pass that we talk about, how we haven't necessarily had a ton of them, but it impacts these teams and what you're able to do. And a nice little loot pick up there from Trash.
Yeah, Trashy gets to get his teammate's card, gets to secure the loot before Taco and Golden decide they want it. Over to the other side, though, this fight over at the Coney Crossroads has been extended once again here. Tabney and Death, last game we're in 25th place, now on up into that 19th. We talked about how those standings are getting closer and closer. Take a look at who's now in the conversation for a potential top 10. It's the young Tabney, Elite Depth. And you know, what's really cool about this team is that they've really earned the professional player community's respect. And I think after today, they're going to earn a little bit more strikes, but they have to put up consistently. Great counter tag there. Tabney gets traded. Depth has to come through and do something big now, or it's a 2v1 situation. He does have the HP lead, though. No reason for him to slow down just yet. But we all know, it's scary. Face checking 2. Great angle right there. Death just clutches up. Yes, he had the health advantage and everything, but it's the angles. It's playing smart and out positioning himself against stretching commandment there.
And generally, they say you can always depend
Qué
on
juego
death and taxes, but might as well change it to death and Tabney, as they're able to just take them down. We're going to swing all over. Phase wall taker, 33 bajo. Trying to find a little bit of room here outside the fortress. Notice how they aren't landing anywhere near the actual
Es de ajustar tu bajura y la altura para abajo.
Get their train rolling a little bit more. They got the confirmation there on the glaze.
More tags are very important, but we all know, like SPG broke down, the Storm Surge data says you need about 500 or so damage to be safe. That is just going to be an early game elimination more often than not.
Alô, alô? Alô? Alô, alô?
E aí, João de Barro?
Alô, alô? Alô? Tá na live ou não?
Tá na live, eu tava assistindo as finais ali, mas, pô, demora muito, você é louco.
Não, mas ali que você tá vendo é internacional, pô. A do Brasil tá acontecendo já. Acho que já acabou já. Essa eu vou ver mais pra tarde, sabe?
Ah, mas eu não consigo ver por aqui, né?
Não, aí você não, do Brasil não. É só no YouTube mesmo. É, tanto que o Brasil não tem, né? como que fala, o servidor deles lá, entendeu? Então é
Nossa,
primordial
mano.
pra eles lá, entendeu?
E o
Brasil
Moscano
é-
aqui não, pensei que era só tinha essa aqui só, pô.
Não, tem a do Brasil, você nunca viu do Brasil? Que tem o Hit, a Milane e tem a Ekane, um negócio assim. É o nome das duas minas que apresenta o programa e o.
Mas hoje é a final,
Os cara.
hoje é a final do
Hoje é a
Brasil?
final, hoje é do Brasil, é a final. Só vai conseguir ver no YouTube só. Aí no Fortnite não. Entendeu?
Pô, que mancada, hein? Mas tá bom.
Os moleques jogou com você, o Biel?
Não,
E o
eu só
outro?
joguei só ontem só. À tardezinha eu joguei um pouquinho só e agora tô jogando agora. Hoje eu tava treinando
entendi.
hoje.
É, eu tava jogando até agora, ó, Days Gone. Pera aí, deixa eu ligar o mouse aqui. Já caiu já?
Cai, você tá na onde?
Ixi, nem caí aí, né?
Caramba, tá no ônibus?
Não, mas eu chego aí.
E eu, caramba, mano. Tipo assim. Então os caras fazem pro YouTube só, não.
É, só é transmitido no YouTube, porque não tem como transmitir lá, aqui no jogo, todos os países, entendeu? Acho que preferência é eles lá, entendeu?
Entendi.
Tanto que o público maior, eu acredito que é lá, né? Você vê que no Brasil, eu vi lá o quanto que assistiram, só 2.200 pessoas. Não é pouco, entendeu? Imagine lá. Lá deve estar o recorde.
É mesmo,
Depois
né?
você vê lá, eu acho que dá pra ver no YouTube a internacional, que eu já vi também. Tava ontem mesmo, tava passando. Só que eu não reparei quantas pessoas estavam assistindo. Que é bem mais, ó, que 2.000 pessoas.
Entendi, agora entendi.
Porque junta todos os países vendo no YouTube, entendeu?
Entendi.
O campeonato deles lá, que é a FNCS é lá nos Estados Unidos, eu acredito, né? Aí tem a divisão que é dos países, né? Cada país tem essa divisão dos prêmios, entendeu? Aí toma cuidado, você tava transmitindo a live do FNCS, ou não? Cuidado, mano. Eu acredito que não. Não sei, né? Se dá algum problema. Eu acho que não pode. Você tira o vídeo.
Vacilei aqui, mano. Vou tentar aqui, mexendo no computador aqui. Pera aí. O cara tem dois, um tá miado.
Deixa eu tô com uma arma. Mais ou
Vou
menos.
deixar assim mesmo, tá? Não tô nem aí, não. Vou deixar assim mesmo. Ou é melhor encerrar essa live e começar outra?
O que? Da FNCS?
É.
Ah, mas a outra você quer dizer o quê?
Não, acabar com essa live e começar outra.
Eu acho melhor você tirar essa aí. Não vai ter problema. Nossa, foi dois. Você vai ter problemas dessa live.
Galera,
aí.
quem tá assistindo a live, por favor, eu vou estar encerrando aqui, tá? Mas eu já volto, tá bom? 5 segundos.